Nigeria Football Federation President Ibrahim Gusau has explained why international friendly against Mozambique is a very important one for the Super Eagles ahead of the 2024 Nations Cup. Speaking with the players and coaches of the Eagles, Gusau explained that it was important to arrange the game with Mozambique, since they are from the southern region of Africa, just like South Africa, Lesotho and Zimbabwe. The Eagles will face Saudi Arabia and Mozambique in a double-header friendly games, and they will also face Mozambique on Monday. Joining us now to do a preview of the fixture is Nigeria ex-international and former head of the Lagos State Football Association, Waidi Akanni. He will also shed light on the initiative's idea and his motivation to drive grassroots football development in Nigeria. Good to have you on Arise News.
My pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Very good. So your thoughts on the game for the Super Eagles against their opponent, Mozambique, and what should they be focusing on for victory?
Well, to be honest with you, I think the stage they are now, the Super Eagles artists, put together, is to try and find a good team that can go to the AFCON coming up in Cote d'Ivoire. By so saying, they've played one against Saudi Arabia. We all saw the game, they played 2-2. Which wasn't so enterprising, which wasn't so, what Nigeria wanted. But as going forward, they need to also play another friendly game, and that's the one they're playing on Monday. By so doing, I think the coach, playing 2 games within 3 days, will probably see the players that he thinks he can take, to AFCON when it comes in January.
All right, everyone seems to be against one man. His name is Francis Uzor. Unfortunate for him, he had a game to forget against Saudi Arabia, costing us probably maybe what some will say would have been a rare victory in a friendly game. Because we're going to be talking about grassroots football in a moment, but talk to us. At the moment, that goalkeeping position seems to be vacant. Ever since Carl Ikeme took ill, was down with leukemia, and was out of the team, we know we had Vincent Iyama before then. Nigeria has struggled in that particular department. What's your take about this, and how can we address this issue?
Well, to be honest, I think we've always had good goalkeepers. When you go back as far as Patrick Okala, Emmanuel Okala, Besto Gedengbe, Peter Rufai, I can mention all of them. Recently, Ike Shurum and other goalkeepers. I don't think we should, put too much emphasis on the goalkeeping area, because one, there are options for the coach, except that probably he doesn't have too much confidence in those other goalkeepers.
No, we tried Maduka Okoye.
And then we tried Adeleke as well. There's Adele, there's a guy from Israel as well. Yes. But I think we should just keep on, playing friendly games and then trying to see which of them will actually fit. There's also what they call a setup in a team. When you are as a goalkeeper, if you cannot speak to your defense line, then you're not communicating well. Probably that's where we have the issues, as far as I'm concerned, because the backman is just being changed a couple of times. You don't have the captain playing central defense no more. You've got 2 new players playing that position. So I think communications between the defense line and the goalkeeper also matters a lot, and that's why I think they should keep on trying the goalkeepers, and hopefully we can find a permanent number 1 goalkeeper for Nigeria.
All right, let's talk about the FA itself. How proactive have they been towards lifting Nigeria's football, and in essence the teams as well? It's disheartening when you hear about wages not being paid, money is being owed football players, as it were. But I'd like your thoughts on this, from the players' perspective as well.
Well, to be honest with you, I think the days we are now, money is very important. And then when players come to play for Nigeria, no matter where they play, they can be playing abroad or whereas they need to earn their living. Once you promise them something, you must pay it. Having said that, I also know, I'm aware, being an FA chairman before, that there are a lot of bottlenecks when it comes to playing, when it comes to getting monies from federal government and releasing money to players. Those are the things where you need a lot of experience in administrators, where they can go and find more sponsors. Even when you get the sponsors, you also have to, define who pays for what and who pays for this, and then bring it back again. So most times, I don't blame the FA per se, but I always believe that once you promise a player, when you play this game, you're going to earn $1,000. I think you must pay them the money. The FA must find where that money will come from, notwithstanding the fact that they go through that bottlenecks and stuff before they get the money out to the players.
All right, but what about sponsorship? Is that helping in any way, as it were?
Well, it should be. Football is it's a big business all over the world. Somehow in Nigeria, we're just climbing the steps. I believe with time we will get there. We need to go to sponsors. Naturally, companies in Nigeria, like West Africa, also need to come into football, because that's where they get to expose, expand their own trade as well. So it now depends on who's marketing those particular products. Super Eagles is #1 product in Nigeria. And I think with the caliber of people we have in the FA, they should be able to market Super Eagles, because when you mention the kind of players we have in there, Osimhen, Ndidi, and other players, I mean, come on, a lot of companies will want to identify with the Super Eagles.
All right, Chief, speaking about sponsors, I think for you don't have that particular problem, because you've been able to galvanize a major sponsor for a grassroots event.
Right.
Of course, the OneX Cup, and more importantly, 40 teams.
Yes.
You've been able to put together 40 teams to be to vie for the grand prize and to vie for the trophy. Talk to us about that. And how is that going to change the landscape? Because we are talking about deficiencies and loopholes in the Super Eagles. Some say this is where it starts from. If you actually go to the grassroots and you begin to hunt these people, you begin to fish them out, before you know what's happening, we'll have some of the best players that the world will celebrate. This is how they found a Victor Osimhen that you just mentioned also.
Right. To start with, the OneX Cup, I call it OneX Cup. There's a vision that's attached to that cup particularly. And what's the vision of OneX? We want to go around communities in Lagos. We started from Ikeja, we're going to Ekpe, from Ekpe to Badagry, and then Ikorodu and Lagos, and then try to see how we can, galvanize non-league players to be part of this event. And at the end of the day, that is what they call grassroots. These guys at the grassroots can also earn some kind of living, from this tournament, especially the OneX tournament we're passing through now. Because when you go to grassroots, you'll be surprised what you find. And then also, grassroots is also divided to different aspects. The under-17, the under-20, and then the ones that are older, that they have actually played the game in the past and they want to play now. And that's where OneX comes in. We go into the communities, trying to bond them together, trying to use football as a way to speak to everybody. And as we're playing, the OneX tournament, if you see talents, it behoves on us to now pick them up and then send them to the right, through the right channel, to the federation.
But that's my question now.
Yes,
my question is, where do these boys, because we know that we have hungry, talented individuals scattered across Lagos and Nigeria.
Yes.
But that particular conveyor belt seems to be broken. So where do they go from here? If you find them, you actually discover them, what's the next step?
Well, there are a lot of ways you define a pathway for these young players. One, the ones we will find in Lagos, what we need to do actually is to look for teams, academies and club size that don't require, big players, because this is where it starts from. So when we find you, we will look for teams that will suit what you want to do in life, especially when you can play football. That's to say that these guys, they need a pathway, and the pathways are the clubs, the pathways are the academies, the pathways are, playing arenas that, for example, Lagos State government has actually provided for us to, be able to use in following through this OneX championship. So when we find you, we will look for teams for you, we will look for clubs for you, and then of course with our experience, because this is our trade. We trade in sports, we trade in football particularly, so we have those teams and those clubs available for you, for us to send them to you.
I was just thinking about the issue of football academies, as it were. You think by now it's one thing to have these talents, so many of them, as Aaron has pointed out, but to nurture them into the right places where they will be optimally utilized seems to be the main issue here. So do we have enough football academies, or have they also been doing what they're supposed to do, churn out these young talents, nurture them to where they should be over time, and not just from a regional point of view, but nationally as well? It's good to bond from all, different, configuration as well.
Well, to answer your question, I think we've got a lot of academies in Nigeria. We just need to actually organize them properly, so that we can have, like you mentioned earlier, some regional kind of influence on these academies.
Yeah.
Because, if you put up 40 teams in Lagos, and then you're playing OneX championship, you're bound to have a lot of good players. So if we're able to also put these guys together as regionally, then they go ahead, and play other regions and then elsewhere. And then at the end of the day, you can then have what is called a national championship, which we're hoping that OneXBet will also sponsor apart from this year's edition. Hopefully next year, we'll do a national championship for OneXBet where we can bring in all these talents that we harness together and then put them, find them a good pathway to go. I'll be honest with you, we've got a whole lot of them. I mean, I was in Ikeja the last 2 weeks. The things I saw were amazing, talents all over the place. Maybe also, maybe also we need to now form a league that would take care of these non-league players. There are different categories of leagues you have. They have the MPFL, they have other ones. We can create a non-league non-league championship where boys can also be seen. And probably that's what we also need. And that's what we're hoping that OneXBet will do next year as well.
Okay, so I was about to actually, what I was trying to interject was, the economic factor has made a lot of people that maybe should not find themselves in football. Have you seen the story of Victor Osimhen, Kelechi Iheanacho, literally rise from nothing to superstardom? Is this influencing people that should probably go to school? Because I know some boys are so zoned into trying to become the next big thing, and the opportunities are very few and far between.
Very minimal.
So talk to me about your experience going around all these locations you mentioned.
Well, to be honest with you, everybody you see nowadays wants to play football. I mean, there's no way you look at it. Every young boy you see wants to go abroad. But of course, again, I'll repeat the same word. There's a pathway to making it in football in life. We went through it. You must be steady. You must be ready. You can also mix it with school. School and sports, they go together. I mean, I did it. A lot of people did it. So you can do that as well. I mean, you can play ball 4 or 5 times a week and then play, go to school 3 times a week as well. You combine things together so that by the time you're done playing, you have something to fall back on. I hope and wish that these young boys we're talking about now will not see Osimhen and Iheanacho and the other players as just being, I just want to play football, because like you said earlier, it's a minimal space when it comes to making it abroad, especially playing football.
Very good. And on that note, Waidi Akanni, Nigeria ex-international, former head of Lagos State Football Association, would like to thank you for your perspective on those issues. Good to have you with us.
Thank you very much. My pleasure. I will always come back whenever you guys want me.
Indeed. Always a pleasure. We hope to have you back soon.
Indeed.